Welcome to Life Cycle Talks, a series of talks presenting the research front to keep you up to date with the science and application of the life cycle perspective. Today's Life Cycle Talk is EU environmental policy landscape in a nutshell, where we will learn more about the EU environmental policy landscape. My name is Anna Wikström, and I'm happy to welcome our guest for today, An De Schryver, Principal Expert at Pre-Sustainability. Before we start, I just want to give you some practical information. All Life Cycle Talks will be published and available on the Swedish Life Cycle Center YouTube channel after the live event has ended. The raise hand function will not be used in Life Cycle Talks, but please feel free to submit your questions using the Q&A function. We will select a few to address during the Q&A session after the presentation. I will start with a warm-up question for you, Anne. I'm curious, what motivated you begin exploring this area?
Good question. Actually, it was my work at the European Commission on the environmental footprint that definitely made the spark. And furthermore, I think the current policy developments makes this a very interesting period today.
Thank you and warm welcome. It's time for your Life Cycle Talk.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Within this Life Cycle Talks, I will give a short overview of the EU environmental policy landscape. I will show you what we see today in the pipeline, what are the variety of requirements in the upcoming regulations, and why it is so important to stay informed. So if we look back to the last 2 decades, we really see that the role of LCA in European policy has significantly grew. And we can kind of split it into 2 phases, where we really see that the first phase, which lasted more or less 15 years, was really about methodology development and testing. So it really laid the ground for a harmonized and robust methodology for everyone to use. It started with the International Reference Life Cycle Data System and Guidance, and then eventually it created the Product Environmental Footprints methodology through the pilot phase and the PFCR developments. Then we can really see now today we are in the second phase. It started around 6 years ago. In 2019, the European Green Deal came out, which was really a boosting point for policy development, and which included sustainability and environmental assessments. And this is really the moment where the European Commission started to explore the potential use of LCA methodology and PEF methodology, where it made proposals and adopted various regulations which integrated LCA in a certain way. At this point, also we see that some initiatives are not fully coordinated, and we really see that harmonization and improvement is needed. And that is where we really are today. A lot of amendments, a lot of improvements are being discussed and are ongoing. If we look at what is available today, we can really see that there is quite a long list. And I must say this list is not final. It's really an infinite list yet. And there are a lot of regulations available on the EU level. Some of them are really frameworks, like if we look here at the first one, the Eco-Design for Sustainable Product Regulation or the Construction Product Regulation. These are really legislative frameworks, but others are very sector specific. We have here, for example, the EU Space Law, but also the battery regulation are really targeted already to a sector. Besides this, we also see at national level that a lot of things are moving. For example, the UK National Health System, who requires mandatory carbon footprint for all the products that are purchased from 2028. But also, for example, China, who would like to develop by 2027 carbon footprint standards for more than 100 key products. So we really see a lot of development ongoing. The initiatives are really growing. So if we look here, for example, at a number of regulations, we really see that there are very diverse requirements. We can look at policy level, but also at methodology level. And we see, for example, here, there are different levels of status. So we see, for example, if we look at the Green Claims Directive, this is really a draft, but also the Space Act, which is already a proposal. It means it's under discussion with the Council and the Parliament already, while others like the ESPR or the CSRD already adopted. But we also see different levels of enforcement. Some of them are mandatory, other ones are voluntary. Some of them focuses on organization, but most of them on products. And then there are, most of them have additional specifications that are being still developed in delegated or implemented acts. If we look at the methodology requirements, we also see quite a variety. So we see, for example, here that for the CSRD, the requirement is to use the greenhouse gas protocol, but you could also use ISO 14064 or the environmental footprint method. If we look at the Space Act, the technical requirements will be based on a PFCR. Through really a PFCR developed from the following the environmental footprint methodology. Then we have also, we have cases where we are really waiting for example, for the eco-design for sustainable product regulation. We are waiting specifically what will be the requirements for certain product groups. And like, for example, for the construction product regulation, that is quite clear. This one is then based on the EN 15804. So the technical requirements in there. Some of them require to ask only for a carbon footprint, but others require the 16 environmental indicators or certain indicators from the environmental footprint methodology. So these very diverse requirements bring many challenges. These are just a few that I present here, but you can imagine if we take the full list that I presented before, it becomes quite a maze. And it brings many challenges. And here we give an example, for the car industry, that's really depending on the sector, but also the stakeholder. You need to consider, you really have to see which regulations affect me, which might be, of course, as we see here, it can be up to 8 different regulations that affect you or that affect your supply chain. And each of them have a different status, have different methodology requirements, have different technical specifications, like, for example, which data bases or data sets to be used. Can carbon stock included, yes or no? So it is quite of a challenge. Furthermore, to make the picture complete and a bit more complex, also on methodological level, developments and updates are ongoing. So if you really see, if we look into the LCA methodologies, we see that there is an upcoming update on the PEF recommendation. This is ongoing. The updated PEF methodology should be published mid-2026. But also there are data sets, the EF compliant data sets that go together with the methodology are being developed and should become available towards the end of 2026, 2027. So this is ongoing. At the same time, we have also ISO 14067, so product carbon footprint or organizational carbon footprint are being updated. And also at the same time, the greenhouse gas protocol corporate standard is being updated. So a lot of things are ongoing, but at the same time, they also give nice opportunities for better alignment on methodological aspects. Finally, here I would like to present you. I'm presenting here an overview of everything what is in the pipeline in the EU on EU policy level, and I'm starting with the battery regulation, which is on hold at the moment. I mean, the battery regulation is out, but we are waiting for the delegated acts of the different battery types. There has been a postponement also on the application date from August 2025 to August 2027. So we are waiting for the different delegated acts with the specifications. Then we have on the level of CSRD, we have actually in the last days the European Sustainability Reporting Standards. The revision has been, a draft revision has been published in the last days and shall be now rediscussed with the European Commission if they can agree with the proposed reduction in requirements. At the same time, also there has been postponement as well on the reporting requirements of the additional information until 2027. When we look at the Safe and Sustainability by Design framework, this framework has been originally published in 2022. So a few years ago, it has been in testing phase. Several companies were asked if they could test this framework, which focuses on implementing LCA already at the design phase of materials and also focuses on chemicals. And currently it is under revision to implement the learnings from this testing phase. Then the next one that I have here on the list is the Green Claims Directive. The first proposal of the Green Claims Directive was published in 2023 and discussed in the Parliament in 2024, June 2024. But at the moment it is frozen, as how they say it. And for us also a very big question mark when and if this will be further developed in 2026. We have the Eco-Design for Sustainable Product regulation. Here we are waiting for the delegated acts that are then product specific. So for final and intermediate products, the exact requirements, the Eco-Design requirements shall come out gradually from 2026 till 2029. Then we have the Critical Raw Material Act, which should come up with which is the official list of identified materials that are critical. And the list is being analyzed at the moment by the Joint Research Center and will be finalized in 2026. Then we have the Space Act. This is quite a new one. This Space Act, actually, the draft proposal has been published in June. It specifies a mandatory requirement of calculating the environmental footprint of any type of space mission. And there is a PFCR ongoing being developed that should be available in 2027. That comes in together with the Space Act, which shall then be applied in 2030. Then we have the construction product regulation, a lot of things ongoing here. We are waiting for the first harmonized product standards that are supposed to come out in a few months, where as a first required mandatory matrix is climate change that will have to be reported, while the other environmental indicators will become mandatory later in time. Then we have the Industrial Decarbonization Accelerated Act, which is planned for adoption by the end of this year still. We have the Environmental Performance of Buildings Directive, which also is still to come out, the second law this year. Then we have the packaging and packaging waste regulation, with the application of new provisions also next year. Beginning of next year. And finally, we have here the regulation for CO2 emissions of cars. And here we are still waiting for the exact methodology on how to calculate the emissions that should come out in a delegated act. So overall, we can see a lot of activities ongoing, but also quite a lot of things that we are waiting for still today. So overall, not to lose yourself in this huge maze of regulations, it is very important to know what applies to you, to your supply chain, to your product portfolio, and how it applies to you. So it is important to follow up to see what is mandatory for you, or is it voluntary? Is it already adopted, or is it only on proposal side level? And which method, especially which methodology is applied, is very crucial. And this was my final message. So thank you all for listening, and I'm happy to hand over back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Anne. Now it's time for questions. So please use the Q&A function to ask your questions. I will start with some questions here. Can you give a bit more details on what is going on with PEF, ISO and GHG protocol update?
Yes, sure. Very, very good question, because a lot of things are ongoing there as well. So currently, they are all being updated. So it is the moment to find alignment. And for example, the ISO 14064 and the Greenhouse Gas Protocol have a very strategic collaboration designed to create a single unified framework for greenhouse gas accounting. So yeah, this is an example of what is going on there.
Thank you. And the next question, is the EU aware of this web of different technical requirements, and is there a way to align the different regulations?
Yes, the EU is aware. They are aware of this, how these different requirements and these different standards make things quite difficult for industry. And an example why I say they are aware is that there are working groups, internal working groups ongoing to align on certain technical aspects, such as, for example, electricity modeling, but also on data strategy, which is a very critical point as well within this context.
Okay, thank you. I will continue here. How can companies prepare best in this quiet and certain transition period?
It's a question that we actually get that we're starting to get more and more. That is on a lot of companies' minds. I think what is important to know, to do as a company, is to really look at your product portfolio and to see, to analyze which regulations today affect your product portfolio. The regulations that are upcoming or already there, but most of them are upcoming. But also look indirectly which regulations will affect your supply chain, because those requirements might also come back to you afterwards. And then I think it is very important to, one thing is to know which are the regulations, but then also it's very important to know what are the technical requirements, especially what I said before, like on data and on level of calculations, so that you know as a company, okay, what are the data requirements? What do I need to, on which aspects do I need to collect data? Or which databases are to be used, so that you really can prepare yourself for the calculations.
Okay, thank you. I will continue with the questions from the Q&A. The Green Claims Directive is currently business to consumers. Is there also business to business on the horizon?
That's a good question. Indeed, so the green claims is business to consumer. I mean, business to business, it's probably rather under the eco-design for sustainable product regulation, because there it includes the digital product passport, which is really more intended to communicate throughout the supply chain, so more towards from business to business, I would say.
Okay, thank you. We will continue. What exactly is the difference between delegated acts and implemented acts?
Haha. It's a question, yes, that is not the first time that I get this. Delegated act is applied. I mean, it's more specification that is made by the European Commission. So, for example, if we look at the Space Act, there is a delegated act that says that the European Commission will have to provide technical specifications that will be then as an annex kind of to the Space Act. So that is a delegated act. So it is implemented equally for all the different member states, while an implemented act is implemented by the member state. So the member state has more freedom to implement it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And the next question from the Q&A is, any thoughts on how the EU carbon removals and carbon farming regulation will influence, for example, PEF and EN 15804?
So just to make sure I understand it, so how carbon removals and farming influence the PEF and EN 15804, right?
Yeah.
Tricky question. Today, what I can say today, carbon stock, so accounting for carbon stock removals is not taken into account in the PEF methodology. That is currently the status. The PEF methodology is under revision at the moment. So it is a question if this will be included in the future. So from once it is published mid next year, if they would allow this, yes or no. So it's for me also a question mark on that level.
Okay. We continue here with questions from the Q&A. Can you say anything about the progress of the EU inter-service group striving towards harmonization? What is the hope for success?
I think we should ask the question to the European Commission. That's a difficult one for me to answer because of course, I'm not part of it. I only know that it is there. I think there is. What I can say is that how to say, that people are having a lot of. That people are having a lot of hope for that. That they have quite a strong, a large mandate to improve and to look for alignment, but more is difficult for me to say.
Yeah, we can continue. What is the good scientific reason for not using the same LCA standard and requirements for all regulation?
I think it really depends on the goal of the regulation. So depending on the goal of the regulation, there might be some deviations. And also on the level, I would say also the maturity of the industry to which the regulation applies. And that's also what you see that very often you see it starts with carbon footprint and then it evolves to other indicators. So I think those are the two main reasons why it's not always possible to have exactly the same methodology. But of course, try to strive for alignment as much as possible is for sure a must.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is CSRD really adopted? I thought they postponed it and just recently released ESRS version 2 drafts?
Correct. That is absolutely correct. I mean, the framework is there, but the exact specifications and indeed the reporting standards are still under discussion.
Okay, thank you. The next question: with so many things ongoing, how I or my company can keep track of everything going on and what pieces are being approved?
Yes, that is what I think most of the companies are struggling with, and that is also why, I mean, my job currently as a consultant and together with our colleagues, that is what we are trying. That's where we are trying to help companies with to create this overview and to help them, following this very moving environment.
Okay, thank you. And the last question: can you give an overview of the timeline for CBAM and digital product passports?
For CBAM, I mean, this is the technical specifications are under development. It should become more clear next year how exactly the calculation should be done, because that is not there yet. And digital product passport is a general terminology which is used in multiple regulations. So it really depends. I mean, it is used in multiple frameworks and multiple regulations. So it really depends on the regulation you're looking at.
Okay, thank you so much. That was the last question. Principal expert at sustainability. Yes.
Thank you very much.
And if you're interested to know more about this field, these articles are a good start. And all that is listed on this slide can also be found on the Swedish Life Cycle Center website in the calendar event for this talk. The Life Cycle Talks are published by the Innovation Cluster for the Life Cycle Perspective and Swedish Life Cycle Center. And thanks for listening. The next Life Cycle Talk will be on March the 12th with Stefano Suin at Electrolux. And please follow Swedish Life Cycle Center on LinkedIn and feel free to subscribe to our newsletter to keep up to date with Life Cycle Talks and our other events and information. So thank you.